So your electrics keep tripping and you're about to call an electrician. Here are 5 checks that you can do that might solve the problem. Step 1, take a photo of which breaker has gone down, then try resetting the breaker and see what happens. If it stays on, probably everything's fine. Why might a breaker trip once and then reset? Let me show you. Sometimes it's as simple as a bulb having blown, which can cause the RCD to trip once. When you reset it, you'll find there's a light not working and the bulb's blown. So when you reset the breaker, go round and check if all the lights are working. You might find that one isn't, and it's simply a matter of changing the bulb. So the thing is that depending on which breaker has tripped, will tell you which circuit the fault is on. Now with this one, it's one of our main RCCBs or RCDs, this one here. So we've got 2 of those in the consumer unit. The one on the left there controls several circuits, and the one on the right here controls several circuits. So these circuits here are actually off that RCD. And what I can do is turn these off one by one. So we can turn the RCD back on now, and hopefully the fault has disappeared because we've turned these circuits off. Now we can turn these circuits on one by one, and if we get to the circuit that's tripped, there we go. We know that our fault is on circuit 3. So now we should be able to turn everything else back on, and only the offending circuit is off, so at least we've got power on to most of the house. So now that we've narrowed the fault down to a specific circuit, what we want to do is go around and unplug or disconnect as much equipment from that circuit as possible to eliminate any faulty equipment. In a kitchen like this, there are a few classics. A kettle is a classic because it has a heating element in it. Sometimes the heating elements fail and they can cause the electrics to trip. Another classic is the fridge. Sometimes the compressor can fail in a fridge and it can cause an RCD to trip. We've created a fault on this circuit with our naughty pirate plug. But if you were to unplug everything, then what I would do next is try and reset the RCD and see if it stays on. The RCD is already on, but we need to turn the circuit for the kitchen back on now, and hopefully, there we go. It stays on because we've removed our fault. Now, if it didn't stay on and it still tripped, what would you do then? So the next step I would do is go and look at any fixed wired equipment like a hob and an oven. Ovens can particularly be problematic when the grill or oven element blows and it can trip the electrics. So if you turn off any switches like this, that should isolate those appliances and allow those to be removed from the circuit, so then you can try to turn it on again and see if it was one of those things that caused it to trip. So if you turn the oven isolator off and then the power resets okay, it's probably the oven that was causing the issue. It could either be the grill element or the oven element that's perished and shorted out to earth and caused the electrics to trip. So you want to get somebody to come out and replace those elements potentially. Now, if after doing all those checks the electrics are still tripping, I would ask you 2 questions. Number 1, what are the weather conditions? If it's raining outside, or it was when it first tripped, it might be something like an outside light or socket that's got full of water, or maybe you've even left an extension lead plugged in and hanging out in the rain. That could be the cause of your issue. The second question is, have you been doing any DIY recently, like putting up any pictures? Let me tell you why that's an important question. If you've recently nailed or screwed something into the wall, it could be that you've nailed through a cable. There are cable zones above, below and to the side of switches and sockets where the cables are naturally run when the sockets or switches are installed. And if you've drilled something above or to the side of one of those, it's quite likely that you've cut or drilled through a cable. If you do realise you've drilled through a cable, don't be embarrassed, it happens all the time. We get tons of phone calls from people who've done it, but you will need to call an electrician even if you pull the nail out of the wall and everything resets okay, because it's probably damaged the cable and you'll want someone to cut the wall out, repair the cable or replace the cable properly, otherwise it could be a fire hazard. So if after checking all of those things and making sure you didn't drill any holes or screw anything to the wall, the electrics are still tripping, you will need to call an electrician and get them to come out to do some further testing and investigation. However, you probably saved yourself some money and saved the electrician time by eliminating all of the basic things that an electrician would check first before doing that further investigation. So I hope this video has been of help to you. If it has, make sure you like and subscribe. And why not sit back and enjoy the fault finding process by watching these two videos here, where a real electrician goes through the full fault finding process.